Okay, everyone, it's just about 11 o'clock, so I'd like to say good morning to you. My name is Norman Howell. If you've not come across me before, I'm a Trenchless technical consultant. I'm a UKSTT council member and a past chair of the society. And I'd like to welcome you all to this Trenchless Tea Break live webinar. And today we're really extremely fortunate to be gaining an exclusive pre-publication preview of the WRC Drain and Sewer Cleaning Manual, which will be presented to us by Peter Henley of WRC. Trenchless Tea Break webinars are jointly hosted by the UKSTT and the West Trade Group, who are a renowned international and no-dig events organiser, and UKSTT and West Trade have been partnered together for probably well over 20 years in organising both No-Dig Live and a number of other technical and social events. The webinars, these tea break webinars, are really designed to provide an opportunity for our industry professionals to connect with leading experts, and we hope that that will provide you with an understanding of some of the latest developments within trenchless technology. Today, I'm delighted to welcome Peter Henley, who's a senior consultant at WRC, and who will be providing us with that overview, as I said earlier, of the new Drain and Sewer Cleaning Manual, which Peter is launching today. WRC first published the Sewer Jetting Code of Practice in 1997, and that was subsequently updated in 2005. And recently, it had become clear that it required further revision, and WRC have sought the assistance of industry in drafting this new edition, and they've worked in particular in collaboration with the National Association of Drainage Contractors, and in particular their technical committee, to create this new updated version, and with an aim of providing a one-stop point of reference for the drainage industry. Peter, as I mentioned earlier, is a senior consultant within the WRC Infrastructure Solutions team and specialises in sewer operations and wastewater issues. He has over 32 years experience within the wastewater industry, and he's worked both as a contractor, a consultant, and within the strategic planning team of Wessex Water, and he joined WRC in 2009. He's been involved with various WRC publications, such as the Drain Repair Book, the Manual for Sewer Condition Classification, and various versions of Sewers for Adoption, and is currently working on a new edition of the Sewer Risk Management Guide. He also represents WRC on various national committees covering drainage issues, and is currently on the NADC technical committee. I'd now like to, just before I hand over to Peter, just give you some housekeeping rules. First of all, I'd ask, please make sure that your mic is muted. I think our organisers have the facility to switch you off if you come on accidentally, but it does help to cut down any background noise. We will be having a Q&A session at the end of Peter's presentation. As you can see on the slide here, if you post your questions on through the Q&A button on the platform, then I'll host those questions at the end of Peter's presentation. So then, without further ado, I'd like to pass over to Peter now to provide us with his presentation. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Norman, for that introduction. And this is the tricky bit where I swap over. Now, hopefully everybody can see that. Norman will give me a thumbs up if everybody can.
Yeah, that's fine.
Thank you, Norman. Yes, so welcome everybody. As Norman said, what we're pleased to announce today is finally we've got the launch of the Manual of Drain and Sewer Cleaning book. We were hoping to get it out a lot sooner. However, a certain thing called a pandemic sort of came crashing its way through. And fortunately, I received my copy of the book this morning. So literally hot off the press. If I hear the words furlough, etc. again, it will be a day too soon, really, because getting anything launched and published has been rather problematic. So apologies for those who have pre-booked the book early. That's much appreciated. However, you know, there are circumstances that have got in the way of getting it out sooner. So, without any further ado, so yeah, WRC, as many people will probably know, we've been in existence now for over 92 years. We were formed as a government body to look at research into the water industry, both clean and wastewater, and we've been focusing on that throughout that period of time. When we came to privatisation, we became a mainly employee-owned organisation, consultancy, and we've been striving to develop and grow over that time. So our mission statement declares that we're independent, trusted, and innovative. So we're always looking to find new innovations in all sectors. So as I say, as the name would say on the tin, we're a water research organisation, but we're also heavily involved now in transferring knowledge from the water industry into the gas sector. So primarily around cured in place pipes. How can we transfer that knowledge into the gas sector to help them repair their mains? And we're also heavily involved in the natural resources environment. So we're looking to create that circular economy, to develop new ways of making sure that waste materials are transformed and reused as much as we can. So that's a little quick overview of WRC. So WRC and trenchless technology. Well, WRC, because we're focused on innovation and we've been involved in the water industry for such a long time, we've been there from the beginning. And although I can't state for a fact, but it is believed that we were at the very first cured in place installation done by Eric Wood in 1971. Now, I was only 5 then, so it certainly wasn't me. But I certainly know we were there when it was tested in 1991, and we captured some results which actually showed that the liner had got stronger over time. So, and hopefully we'll maybe going back in 2021 to see how that liner's performing. So hopefully it stood the test of time. I'm sure it has. So WRC, although we're a consultancy, we also have a service delivery team. So our infrastructure solutions team, primarily using WRC Sahara, have been doing mainly leak detection surveys, and we've recently completed our 5,000 kilometres of in-pipe inspections, and we've discovered over 5,000 leaks. So that's a significant benefit to the industry. And we work primarily for Thames Water on their trunk mains leakage programme, and we're very active in that, but we're increasingly expanding that work out into not only clean water mains, but also the wastewater environment as well. So we do a lot of rising main inspections using our in-pipeline pressure tool, using the Sahara system, also Smart Ball and Pipe Diver. And in 2015, we actually won the UK STT Innovation Award for developing a conductivity tool to run alongside Sahara delivery system. So we worked very closely with both UK STT and ISTT in the international version on developing and delivering new industry standards throughout the year. So we've been heavily involved working with the likes of Norman, Deck Downey and the like, to really push forward standards in this area. And running alongside of that, we've supported many UK companies in gaining certification through our WRC approved scheme. Well, I can't list them all, but look out for the logo. The approved logo stands for fit for purpose and is a quality mark that demonstrate that. So we've done a lot of work in areas around, again, cured in place, CCTV software most recently, but other and any number of devices as well used in the trenchless environment. We've been really active and regular supporters and presenters at no-dig events, and I had the pleasure of presenting the last ISTT event in Florence, October 2019, and we were looking forward to September and the UK and no-dig show, but unfortunately, as you know, pandemic has caused a bit of a curtail to that, but we're huge supporters of that, and we're pleased to say that we've actually rejoined UK STT. We had a bit of a hiatus in our membership, but that's been resolved, and we're now back members, and we're looking to get fully engaged in the work of the UK STT, because we really do see it as a real driver in terms of improving standards, sharing knowledge and technical information across the industry. And I think that really fits within our sort of remit as well of being leaders in innovation, being independent and being trusted. So, and I think they're statements that UK STT also share as well. So, WRC publications. Many people probably do know us best for some of the publications we've produced. So we've got the SRM, the Sewer Risk Management System, or started out life as the Sewer Rehabilitation Manual, which was first published in 1987, and is currently undergoing a revision. Certainly the design elements, we're working closely with some of the industry leaders, John Gumble, etc., to update the design standards to make sure they're applicable to this modern day age. So we see SRM as being the sort of the overarching family member to which a lot of our publications best fit. And so run alongside of that, we've got the Manual of Sewer Condition Classification. And starting out in my days as a CCTV contractor, this was my Bible, and it's continued to remain so throughout my time in the industry. So alongside of the family, we've got the Drain Repair Book, and this is sort of focused at more the domestic or the industrial drainage systems. We work closely with the UK insurance industry to develop the guide. That was first published in 2003, and it really gives you an oversight into the operation and management of drain repair. So what drains do we repair, when, and how do we do that best? So that sort of fits neatly into that upstream end of the sewer catchment or the sewerage network. And then the latest addition to the family, although it's been probably used, renamed and somewhat, but like I say, the Manual of Drain and Sewer Cleaning as published today. So if you've got an order in for it, they are being processed as we speak, and they'll be out to you very shortly. Hopefully you'll be getting them dropping through your letterboxes very soon. So we feel that they all fit into a neat family around wastewater. So the SRM focuses on looking at sewer network management and how do you rehabilitate that. So we've got the Manual of Sewer Condition Classification to help in that assigning risk of sewer failure. We've then got the Drain Repair Book, which leads on to that and looks at the domestic drainage side of things. And then now we've added the Manual of Drain and Sewer Cleaning, which I'll go into a little bit more detail shortly. So we just think this is a family of publications that will enable the industry to move forward and provide a sort of a suite of books that people can tap into, use as reference materials, to show good practice and best practice. And I should say the MSCC, the Manual of Sewer Condition Classification, we're looking to update that fairly shortly. That's likely to be sort of 2021, 22. So that will be bringing in new ideas. I know a lot of developments in the area of CCTV, what sort of things like using AI to do coding is sort of starting to emerge, and we're looking to adapt the guidance and the documentation to accommodate that. Sorry, I digress slightly. So the Manual of Drain and Sewer Cleaning, why? As Norman said, we had a sewer jetting code of practice, and that was first released in 1997 and subsequently updated in 2005. And this was developed with the water authorities and the water companies over time, and it was really to try and provide guidance on the best use of high pressure removal of blockages and also drain cleaning, so removing sediments, fog, etc. from our drains and sewers. And one of the key aspects it was and used was information that we've gathered through sort of detailed research that we've done into jetting pressures and how that affects a range of pipe materials. Obviously, if we're using high pressure water jetting in pipes that are such as pitch fibre or plastic pipes, we need to know what sort of operating pressures we can operate at to avoid any damage to the host pipe. That's the last thing we want to do. So we worked on research where we did testing of pipe materials, and we came up with some guidance around that. So that was the essence of the jetting code of practice. But certainly looking back, so we're probably looking 2 years now, we realised that some of the guidance that was in the latest edition, the second edition in 2005, needed updating. And certainly there were certain changes in legislation around sewer ownership as well, with the transfer of private sewers in 2011. So we definitely saw that there was a need to update the manual, keep it current, keep it live. And while we could have done this ourselves, in a sort of the development and ethos of collaboration, we wanted to work with the industry to come up with an updated version that sort of suited their needs. It's all well and good WRC sat in our blue and red ivory tower down in Swindon, sort of pontificating on how things should be. But what we needed to do was talk to practitioners, to people who actually use the equipment day in, day out, and understand what the assistance of the industry. And so through my links to the NADC, we sort of approached them, and we decided it'd be good to work in collaboration with these guys. One of their mission statements is really to try and improve training standards throughout the industry, particularly at sort of domestic drainage level. Some of the standards have, well, they haven't been there, and therefore they wanted to try and get away, move away from this image of a bit of a cowboy industry, where their members could be shown to be trained and fully conversant with the latest standards, up to date, and they would provide a good service to the level of company to their customers. So our collaboration was we sat down and talked to them, their technical committee, and what they wanted from the manual was a book or a guidance document that covered all methods of sewer cleansing. So their members use a whole range of equipment. So they wanted to include those key parts of those new techniques within the guidance document. So blockage clearance can be done by high pressure water jetting, as we well know, but it can also be done by rotary drain cleaner machines, electromagnetic or electromechanical, sorry, I'll even get it right in a minute. And the new sort of kid on the block, sort of the milling machines that are starting to make a real significant penetration into industry. So we wanted to include all of those techniques in there. So with a view to creating that one-stop point of reference for not only NADC members, but the wider industry. So whether you're working on mainline sewers for water companies, you're doing domestic or industrial drain cleaning, you've got a guidance document there that incorporates all of the techniques that you're likely to use, and we can be included in one document. So as I say, it covers best practice in blockage clearance and planned sewer cleaning methods as well. And we have to thank many of their members who have provided material and photographs. So we had a lot of support from the NADC technical committee, particularly Peter Stacey, the chairman, and Martin Beattie, the vice chair, but also a lot of their members, and excuse me if any of them I've missed off, but people like Richard Swan at Picote for the milling machines, Spartan Tools for the electromechanical, Julian Wynn at FN Conway provided a lot of information on the sort of tankering and suction elements, but we've also had support from I'm running out of Vivax with the sort of map tracing. We also had support from radio detection in that area, and also Richard Bridge down at Glanville's, again helping with the sewer jetting aspects. As I say, I'm a CCTV specialist, so jetting's a little bit of a foreign art to me. So I needed a lot of guidance and help in putting the material together. So working closely with my colleagues at WRC, Frank Moy and Nick Orman, we've hopefully developed a book that will the industry will find useful and help them and give them best practice guidance that they can follow and lead the way through. So what's in the book? And so contents, we obviously cover things like drain ownership. So is it a private sewer or a private drain, or is it a public asset? It's important that contractors know this and understand where that differentiation occurs. It's not always very clear, but if you can be informed as best you can, then the people will be working on those drains and assets will be best informed. We also cover sort of, I know sometimes it can be called teaching granny how to suck eggs, but we cover the sort of main drainage components. So people are aware of what they're undertaking and how that can impact on the sort of the techniques they're using. So we cover things like interceptors, backdrops, a full range of drainage components that contractors working in this area will encounter in their day-to-day work. We also cover health and safety. It is not a definitive health and safety guide for doing everything. That must be and should always be done to company method statements and risk assessments. But what we do is we sort of cover the main hazards likely to be encountered while doing this type of work. So whether that's lone working in the highway, working with high pressure water jetting tools, which are obviously of a danger to not only the operator, but also the public. So we need to make sure that people are well up to date with the latest guidance in that. So we've done that. We also cover things like training requirements, and we really do stress the need for good quality training, be that confined space entry, water jetting, whatever it is. We do stress that the need for good training leads to good practice, and obviously good health and safety practices being adopted. So we cover those key areas. We look at blockage clearance. So what are the initial office and site procedures to follow? So you get an initial contact from the customer. What do you need to do? How do you triage a call? What steps do you need to put in place? So you collect as much information from the customer to make sure that your teams attending site are fully aware of what they're likely to face when they get there. So is it a private or a public asset? Is there access issues, etc.? What do they need to know about the history of that property and that drain? So we cover through those. And then we move into the sort of the drain and sewer cleaning aspects. What do we need to do in terms of planning, its execution, and how do we report back to the customer? What is the best format to do that? So we go into quite a lot of detail around that. We also then cover the the first point of any drain cleaning exercise is to do an investigation. So we need to understand how best to do that. So you come into my world of CCTV, look-see cameras, new additions like zoom cameras, where we can look down a pipe, see what the problem is, understand what we need to do to make sure we can restore the service of that drain or sewer. So we look at inspection techniques. We also cover tracing, moving on from the sort of the humble dye testing, where we're putting dye down a drain and checking connectivity, etc. But using modern day technologies such as drain tracing tools, Cat and Jenny, the latest in that. And we also cover misconnections. Misconnections are a big problem for the water industry. And I know a lot of the water companies are really active in this area, trying to track those misconnections down. And we do provide some guidance on that. And that stems from work we did with WRC, NADC, and the Environment Agency, where we put together an element in their CCTV inspectors course around identifying misconnections. And we've just included that because we think it's good that if somebody's turning up to site, they see a misconnection, they know how to report it, what to tell the customer to make sure that those problems can be rectified, because they have a significant impact on causing pollution incidents and damage in our environment. So we really do think that that's some benefit going forward. So I'm just going to take a quick drink of water. And what else do we cover? Well, we cover risk assessments as well. So we look at the health and safety risk and also the pollution risks from undertaking drain and sewer cleansing. So if we're cleaning a sewer or a drain out, the last thing we want to do is pollute the environment by letting it spill unchecked into watercourse. And we don't certainly want to flush heavy loads of sediment down the pipe and into a watercourse that's going to cause environmental impacts. That's the last thing we don't want to do, and that will have an impact on the contractor as well. The EA will be looking to find out who did this, and then could lead to prosecution. So we want to avoid that at all costs. So we do cover that, and then we sort of touch on the main techniques for cleaning drains and removing blockages. So the good old favourite, drain rodding. It's pretty much 19th century technology, but it's still used. So we cover the main aspects around that, particularly touching on what not to do, what tools not to use in drains and sewers that can lead to the age-old problem of drain rods being stuck down drains and sewers. So we want to avoid that. So we cover the best practice around that. We then look at high pressure water jetting, and we look at the equipment, and we look at nozzles as well. Coming from a CCTV background, I just thought there was one type of jetting nozzle. Oh, I was wrong. There are a large selection out there, and they're used for different practices, different cleaning methods, and different obstacles you're trying to remove, whether it's hard deposits, tree roots. There is a jetting nozzle there for you. So we cover all of that, and that's certainly been a learning curve in my time, coming from a CCTV background into a more complete drain cleaning aspect. So we look at that as well. And then the techniques, so how is it best deployed? What do we need to do? The last thing we want to do, as we say, is cause problems. And so back flushing into customers' properties is certainly something we desperately want to avoid. So we need to have good practice in place to avoid that. What are the best methods? So is it jetting upstream to clear blockages, etc.? So we cover all of those aspects. And the best aspects around clearing blockages around interceptors, sewers, etc. So we cover a full range of techniques to make sure, in terms of high pressure water jetting, that best practice is followed. And what we've tried to do is we've tried to implement a sort of step-by-step guide. So it's easy to follow with plenty of diagrams, etc., and guidance. So it's not a text-heavy laden document, although we can't avoid too much text. What we've tried to do is a step-by-step guide, cut down on the text, but keep it short, concise, but to the point. So we've done that. And then we cover the tankering aspect as well. So we, as I say, we worked with FM Conways and Glanvilles to refine that. It tells you the clear instructions of what to do and how to follow that. It doesn't go into great detail, but it does cover the main aspects of around that. And then finally, we've added the rotary cleaning methods. So the electromechanical, I can say it now, and also the higher speed milling machines that we see quite commonplace now. So we look at those pieces of equipment. So what types are they, where are they best used, etc. And also the tools as well that we use to clear obstacles and obstructions from sewers, be that tree roots, debris, etc. And we can see, and I think there was a UK STT session with PICO and some of the tools and what they can deploy to remove obstructions, failed liners, concrete. I saw Richard Swan taking out a huge concrete section in a pipe the other day. They are a real beneficial tool for the drain cleaning armoury. So we wanted to cover that in this book, and we cover the main techniques around that as well. So that's really what the book entails, and it covers it hopefully in a very easy to read, step-by-step process, and you can dip in to find the right information as and when. So it provides that one-stop guide to drainage contractors. But one of the things that we're keen to stress is that a guide is only as good as the training really that runs alongside of that. So while there are a lot of industry training courses out there, and we recommend that people are well trained in all aspects of drain and sewer cleaning, be that water jetting with the WJA or the NADC training courses, but also WRC provide our own training packages as well. And this is more around not so much the technical or the practical elements. As I say, we don't do this day in, day out, so we're not the specialists in this. But if you're looking for training in operational practices, management techniques, WRC Academy have got that. So it's something that we've launched recently. So if you're looking for a training package, you do drop in, see what we can offer, and we may be able to help you in that. So like I say, we try and provide that knowledge transfer, and I think this is where our tie-in with UK STT, both with face-to-face and online platforms. We're looking at virtual training packages now. So it's a fast developing world in the age of a pandemic. So as I say, we've got a full range of courses, and we're hoping to get that out into the industry for people to use and maximise the benefit from. So as I say, we can deliver courses bespoke or online courses, so we cover a full range. So I think that sort of brings me to a conclusion. I may have gone over time a little bit, so apologies for that. So thanks for listening. If you want to buy the book, and if you haven't already, just go onto that link there, www.webookshop.com. You will find that in our new bestsellers. Or if you want any more information, just drop me an email on peterhenley@wrcplc.co.uk. I'll be happy to have conversations with anybody. One of the joys of my job is the fact that I can just talk to anybody, whether it's a humble drainage contractor with a one-man van through to asset management planners at the highest level in terms of Thames Water or United Utilities. And each and every one of them has a different problem, but it's a challenging problem, and that's where WRC and myself are happy to help. So I'll wrap you up, and then I'll just pass you back to Norman, I believe.
Yeah. Okay, thank you very much, Peter, for that very comprehensive walk through the new manual. I think it's I think everybody appreciates all of the work that you've done to pull all that information into one book. It's a really good piece of work. We have 2 or 3 questions, so if you're happy to to sort of answer these, Peter. I'll start them off, and the first one's from Joe Bradley, who says, does the book contain indicative costs of the various operations and associated waste disposal costs?
No, we studiously avoided the cost element. As with any hard copy publication, it's out of date the day it's produced. So costs would vary significantly. So no, unfortunately, we haven't touched on that. Again, a lot of that is commercially sensitive information. So no, we haven't covered that aspect now.
Right.
Sorry, Joe.
The next question is, will the jetting test for pipes from WIS 043501 also change?
Now you've got me. The book includes the updated version, so I'm not sure if the WIS is changing. Is that the question, or?
I think that's the question. Is it going to be updated to possibly match the manual, or have you used it to?
We would look to work with people who are producing the WIS to make sure that our research, which is some of this work, sort of goes back 10, 15 years, so it's well-known information. It certainly goes back to 2005 when we did the last update of the jetting code of practice. So that was research that was done prior to that. So yeah, those figures really haven't changed significantly over time. Pipe materials have remained pretty constant. So we don't foresee those figures will change significantly. So I don't think the WIS will probably need any update in that regard.
Okay, back now to perhaps a less technical question. This is again from Joe Bradley. Does the book cover techniques to empty or recharge gully pots without causing pollution?
We do cover tankering and suction, so we do cover that, but that's primarily for sort of removing water from when we're doing drain and sewer cleansing. So we haven't touched on gully pots as being something that we needed to cover. So maybe the second edition will. I'm not going to start planning that just yet, but one of the key aspects is that we make sure that when we're doing any operations in drain and sewer cleansing, that we don't cause any pollution issues. It's a key factor that we as the industry, we're looking and talking about how to reduce pollution incidents. And if they can be best avoided through poor practice, that's a good step forward. So we don't cover gully pots, but maybe we should have.
This is the next question from Paul Duggan is a bit more about the mechanics of the book. It says, is it available as PDFs, i.e. electronically? Is an electronic version available, I guess?
No, we focused on having just on a hard copy. The problem with PDFs is that, as I found only yesterday, that if you create a PDF, it becomes very easy to transfer, and so we would lose any value from any sale of the book. So we're not a charity, unfortunately, and my CEO would definitely want me to try and recoup some of the costs of investing in the book to make up the shortfall. Right.
Okay. The next question sort of comes from an anonymous ND, and it's where does the contractor make a differentiation between the new WRC manual and the Water Jetting Association's Code of Practice, and in brackets red or blue books? And then it goes on to say, does the NADC and WRC acknowledge and support the WJA training? And then are there any notable differences between the two sets of documents?
No, I think we're in pretty much in line. We work closely with Simon Goddard at Centina Training to make sure that he's both an NADC and WJA jetting trainer. So we were keen to avoid any sort of creation of two different standards. We're trying to work together. We incorporate all aspects of the WJA red or blue book in that. So they're very similar. There will possibly be some slight difference, but not significantly. No, we don't want to start creating splitting off and creating two churches, so to speak. So no, we worked very closely with that, and we were quite positive, and we needed to align with that standard, because that's what a lot of the industry works to this day. Yeah.
And then another sort of final question from this attendee is, we're often told that the NSCC, so that's the condition assessment manual, is only a document about sewer inspection and nothing else. So what do the sections on drain ownership, site investigation and misconnections have to do with drain and sewer cleaning? I'll let you
good question.
Yeah.
I think we wanted to make it as complete a document as possible. So if you turn up to a job and you were unsure about who owned the drain, it can be a very confusing situation on site when you're faced with a series of manhole chambers or inspection chambers. So we wanted to try and make it as simple as possible. We haven't gone into infinite detail because often with sewer and drain law, it can only be finally determined by a solicitor. But what we tried to do is try and make it as straightforward as possible. So if you're using the book in England, Wales, Northern Ireland, Scotland, whatever, you'd have a point of reference to say, right, okay, it's a blockage I'm clearing. I'm not sure whether this is private or public. I can just flick through to my reference guide. That will give me a reasonable indicator of where that lies. In terms of the other sort of misconnections, etc., again, we just felt that it would be remiss not to sort of put information in where we can help contractors or people working on site to understand some of the issues. And that's what we're trying to get across, is that sort of knowledge transfer, helping people understand. So if they read through it and understand that, sewer misconnections, be that from a washing machine that's newly plumbed in a wet room, going into a surface water sewer because it's most convenient for the plumber who installed it, is going to cause a significant impact. And if they can recognise that on site while they're there, they're doing a service not only to their customer, whoever they're dealing with, but also the wider environment in terms of you're helping identify these problems. And because eventually they will get tracked down, and the last thing you want to do is have a water company knocking on your door saying, you've got a misconnection, we want to serve a notice on you to get it corrected. So we just thought it was an all-inclusive document. We wanted to include the most up-to-date information to give that broader depth. And, we recognise that the guys working on the ground are there day-to-day, face-to-face with the customer. If they've got an opportunity to raise their knowledge base and then pass that information back to the customer, we're doing our job there, and I think that's where we see the role for that. So not strictly to a jetting or cleansing, but it's that wider knowledge piece that we're trying to get across.
Yeah, okay. The next question is there any reference to, this is from Phil Petty, sorry, is there any reference to rising sewer mains cleaning, or is this covered in another publication?
We haven't specifically mentioned riser mains. Cleansing riser mains is coming from my background. It's quite difficult. You've got to take the main out of service. You've got to maintain the flows while you're doing that. So that is quite a problematic thing to do, tankering away the flows while you cleanse the sewer. So, but once you've got the pipe taken out of service, the cleansing aspect of it is pretty much similar to as you would with a normal pipeline. Obviously, length is an issue, and the amount of sediment you may be pulling back. But it's we haven't gone into that. We don't think that's going to be a sort of a day-to-day occurrence for the industry. So we didn't include rising mains. No.
Yeah, I think that there is another range of techniques that potentially you could use, that you'd use on, you know, sort of pressure mains in general, because sometimes, you know, you might come across, you know, a whole series of metallic mains here, which you don't necessarily find in sewers.
Yeah. Obviously, we worked closely with people doing ice pigging sewers, with ice pigging and other types of pigging mechanisms. And we've got research projects ongoing at the moment looking at rising mains and how to best manage them, handle them, because they're the next big problem for the industry, really. It's the one part of the network we can't inspect very easily, we can't clean very easily, and we don't know its condition. So I know it's a challenge for the water companies going forward in AMP5, AMP7, and AMP8. So that's going to be a big challenge for the industry, certainly.
Our next question is from Mark Hunter, and it says, please advise, does the high pressure water jetting information surpass or supersede the information within the, is it the HPWJ? That's the high pressure water, I presume, jetting manual. Yeah.
We feel it's the most up-to-date current information on those best practices. Like I say, some of this, it hasn't just evolved. Sewer jetting's been around for a long time, but what we're building on that and trying to use up-to-date best practice knowledge from the industry to sort of guide us in that. So hopefully, people when they go through the book, will see that that's what it fits that brief. But no,
you're okay with a few more questions. I think they're quite useful, really. So the next question comes from Ghana Mohammed, and it's getting at pipe with fog is really a challenge, and he says, please advise.
Yes, it's the problem, and I'm sure everybody's seen the fat bird programs with people with pickaxes, mattocks, trying to remove fog from sewers. It's a real challenge. High pressure water jetting, sometimes because of the nature of fog, when it solidifies and becomes the saponification process sets in, it's almost like concrete, so it's very, very difficult to get out. So it's an area that we're actively looking at. Last year we were working with 3 water companies at trying to develop new techniques, be that precision high pressure water jetting at very high pressures, so you literally can cut through it. So it's watch this space where we're looking to engage with the supply chain. We've got some ideas, but what we need to do is make it into a system that can be used in a live sewer. It's all well and good trialing it out in the back of our facility in Swindon. So, it's a challenge. But things like the milling machines can remove that reasonably easily in smaller diameter pipes. Obviously, larger sewers that we see on the fat bird programs are obviously a little bit more difficult to solve.
Another issue, yes.
Yeah, but it's an area that we're very active in and we're trying to solve.
So our next question is from Wayne Ribbons, and it is preventing toilet blowbacks covered?
Yep, we cover that. That's one of the key points. The last thing we want to do if we're doing any maintenance on the customer side of things is to cause issues. So we do cover the best techniques to try and avoid that unfortunate process. The last thing we want to do is cause. And during my time with DBI and 365, the amount of times we had complaints or they weren't received well in the office when we found out that we'd caused a problem with the customer property. So we definitely focus on that aspect.
Okay, no, that's great. And then we're now on, does the book advise different jetting pressures depending on pipe material? And then it goes on, for example, PVC is known to require much less pressure than, say, cleaning concrete.
Yep, no, certainly we do cover that. We've all seen the horror stories around jetting pitch fibre pipe where you start pulling or cut the pipe in half, through to when you're jetting on pipe in poor condition, you can start pulling back huge chunks of pipe back, which is not doing the job that you're there for. Yeah, so we cover jetting pressures for all, well, the main pipe materials that you're likely to face in a drain cleaning situation. So we cover the PVC, PE through to metallic pipes, concrete pipe, etc. And they all have a different jetting pressure that you should, the maximum jetting pressure you should work to, because obviously if we damage the hose pipe, we're creating problems rather than solving. So that's what we want to avoid.
Just a comment from Phil Petty on one of the previous questions, just say, I think it was the one about rising mains, saying that ice pigging can be utilised where you've got a live main, and I know it has, it has been trialled on a number of projects. So that's just really for advice. Our next question is there any guidance on cleaning of siphons?
No, not specifically. No, we haven't covered that aspect. Maybe that's,
It's probably more akin to pressure pipelines anyway.
There
wouldn't be so many gravity-fed lines that would run through that.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the techniques are fairly standard in siphon operation, but obviously you've got the downward, the complete submerged section of pipe work. So you've got to understand how to best use that. So no, we haven't covered that in significant detail. No, not specifically. Plenty of ideas for a new book.
The next question's from Peter Woodhouse. It said, would you recommend your course to follow alongside the WJA courses, or is it a replacement? Sorry, it's English.
Well, as with driving a car, if you read the highway code, it doesn't make you Lewis Hamilton, and we would definitely recommend that you had the right and appropriate training. So if you're doing any sewer cleansing work, we would recommend that you took a reputable sewer jetting course. So you can buy the jetting unit off, Drain Trader or whatever it is, and set yourself up as a business. And that's a concern for the industry, because people are out there operating machinery that has significant detrimental impacts if used in the wrong way. So what we're really keen to stress is that just buying the book doesn't mean you're a proficient sewer jetter or sewer cleanser. You need the training to back that up. There are regulations that cover that as well, legal requirements, and the HSE would be on to you if you cause any damage to your workers, etc. But no, the book is only a guide. The training really provides you with the hands-on experience and practical knowledge. So be that Water Jetting Association or any other training package delivered. I know NADC do a suite of courses as well. We would highly recommend people did that. They're almost essential, I think.
I'll just another question from Ghana Mohammed, which is what's the best lateral connection from an incoming pipe to the main pipe for ease of pipe cleaning?
Well, we don't want any intruding connections.
No, absolutely.
That's something we're desperate to avoid, and a nice sweat connection would be the best. So we'd recommend you follow the best guidance in things like sewers for adoption or the design and construction guide, recently which is now downloadable from Ofwat or Water UK. So we would recommend you follow the best guidance in that.
Right. So then we've got Rufus. Is it Rufus Sallows? Does the book give more detail on hose damage and when to change a hose? The current WJ Code of Practice has photographs that are not that clear.
We haven't got photographs of hose damage, but we do stress the need to check the hose to make sure it's not damaged, and therefore it's likely to burst or whatever. So we do cover that. We haven't got pictures of hose damage in the book, no. So we're relying on, again, training to sort of help deliver that sort of instruction to people to.
Yeah, I think that's really
important. It's how do you check it? What are you specifically looking for? That's where the training really does come into its own.
I'd agree with that. Training's the key to that. Yeah. We're nearly down to the end now, Peter, but does the manual cover cleaning of channel drains?
In terms of surface water drainage, no, we haven't covered that. No. Okay. We're talking more foul and surface water pipes rather than channel drainage.
So the final remark on our Q&A is again just say a comment, and for fog removal. And one of our attendees has said that you need to join the NODC Live digital conference in September, and you have given sharing some information on their learning and how to remove fog, and where as an industry of sewer undertakers, where they're sort of calling out for let's say contractors to look at new techniques for the removal of fog. So that's just a bit of an advert that we have got the NODC Live digital conference coming up, and there'll be lots of subjects covering trenchless aspects, not only of drainage but probably of other areas which which might prove interest. So my view would be that you need to keep looking at the UKSTT website, ukstt.org.uk, for information on those sorts of events. Okay, Peter, we've come to the end of the questions. I'd again like to thank you for a really comprehensive presentation, and also for spending the time to answer all of the questions that our attendees have raised. That I think that's been really useful. Again, I'd then finally like to thank you all for taking the time to attend this Trenchless Tea Break. I hope you've enjoyed it. It's a series of webinars that UKSTT and Westrade are hosting jointly. So again, I'd ask you to look out on both UKSTT and Westrade's web pages for up and coming events. And if you have any further questions on what we've discussed today, as Peter said, he'd be pleased for you to contact him to provide answers. And also you can contact the UKSTT Secretariat at admin at ukstt.org.uk, and we'll pass on those questions to Peter. So I'd like to thank you all for attending, and I'd now like to close the webinar. Thank you very much, and goodbye.
Thanks all. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.